Want to avoid the massive mistakes in comic book collecting? I wish I had known them because I made them all. And in today's video, I'm bringing you the top 5 mistakes I've made in my comic book collecting journey so you can avoid them. Let's start with number 5. Going over budget. Now, I've been collecting since I was a kid, and I've made a lot of boneheaded mistakes in that time. Like that one time I traded my first edition mint base set Charizard for a bunch of scratched up, beat up hollows. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Some scars never heal. But in my comic book collecting journey, one of the biggest mistakes I've made is going over budget. And you can do this in a number of ways. Whether it's setting a budget for a book and just spending more than what you wanted to spend on the book, or maybe it's going over budget on your entire collection. Let's say you said, I want to spend no more than $1,000 on my whole collection, and you end up spending $1,500. I think we've all been there. Or if you're like me, it could mean paying over market value for a book. And I did that most significantly with ASM number 3, Amazing Spider-Man 3, the first appearance of Doc Ock, or Dr. Octavius. This is a huge book. For those of you who are Spider-Man fans, you've seen Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, the original run of Spider-Man movies. And he is one of the greatest villains, Spider-Man villains, if not the greatest Spider-Man villain that exists. This book is in a CGC 6.0 off-white to white, and it's going to stay in my collection for a long, long time. But that being said, when I picked up this book, I knew the fair market value of the book. I subscribe to Go Collect and GPA Analysis. Those are pricing resources, pricing guides online. If you're not subscribed, I would recommend those subscription service if you're looking for pricing guides. And at the time I bought this book, the fair market value based on those guides was about $5,500. Now, I saw this book at a convention, and I really thought that it was, really great presenting book. It's obviously exactly what I'm looking for. I'm always looking for my Silver Age keys to be 6.0 or higher in off-white to white or white pages, and this fit the bill. And even though I knew fair market value was $5,500, I was, impulsive, and I bought the book, and I paid $6,000 for this comic, and I ended up paying, what is that, 10% above fair market value roughly for the book. And I was happy with the purchase at the time because I was like, oh, this book will go up over time, right? Right? Well, fast forward, most recent sale for this book in a 6.0 is $3,800. Ouch. Wow. I went over budget. I overpaid for this book. I never should have paid more than $5,500 at the time, and I definitely, regret having purchased that now, because if I had waited and purchased most recently, like $3,800, I would have had an extra $2,800 that would have been in my pocket that I could have bought another book. So definitely, I recommend you avoid overpaying or going over budget on your comic books. Now, number 4, impulse buys. Now, this one is one of my Achilles heels when it has come to my comic book collecting journey, because when I started, I just wanted to buy as many books as I possibly could. And that did not serve me well. Case in point, Donald Duck from Whitman Publications. I don't even have this book anymore. So I give you the next best thing, which is a literal picture printed off my computer of the picture that I took of the book when I owned it. So this book is a really cool book, actually. It's the first published Donald Duck comic book. And this came up on a seller from a live stream on Instagram. And if you don't know, Instagram is one of the favorite places I like to pick up comic books, especially graded ones. You want to check out this video that I have up here somewhere to watch that video to see my top 5 greatest places to buy books. But I picked this up impulsively because I just love Donald Duck. And I was like, oh, wow, first Donald Duck comic book? That's got to be, extremely rare, extremely valuable. And since it was on a live sale, if you've ever experienced a live sale, those can go at any time. So you have to make decisions very quickly. And I impulse bought this book. And ever since, I have regretted it. Obviously, I don't even own the book anymore. So this impulse buy, what did it cost me? Well, first of all, it cost me a lot of money because when you do impulse buys, one of the negative things is you can't do research on the book. So, or as much research as you should. So I wasn't able to do the research into seeing whether or not this was the key I thought it was. Because I was thinking first Donald Duck book, it's got to be like his first appearance, right? Or close to. It's actually not his first appearance in comics or in any printed book. So it was a little bit different than I thought, and that's because, I didn't have the time to do the research. The other thing that really hurt me was I didn't have time to do pricing research either. Had I been able to do some research and gone to Go Collect or to GPA analysis, I would have been able to see that I was drastically overpaying for this book. So I actually sold this book, took a bath on it. I lost over $1,000. And not only did I lose money, which is always obviously a bad thing, especially when it's over $1,000, right? That's not a small amount of money. The other really negative thing is the money I had tied up in this book prevented me from buying another key issue that I really wanted and loved. And that was actually Wonder Woman #6, the first appearance of the Cheetah. So do I regret purchasing this? Yes, I do. And that's why I would think impulse buying, something you should definitely avoid, because not only can it cost you money, it can also cost you the comics that you actually really want at the end of the day. So don't do what I did and don't impulse buy. Number 3, being impatient. Patience is a virtue, right? We've all heard that. Well, that's something that I definitely struggle with on a daily basis, not to mention with my comic book collecting. And impatience can hurt you badly, and I've experienced that firsthand, especially with this book, which was Sensation Comics #6. This is a big book. This is first appearance of the Golden Lasso, or Wonder Woman's Lasso of Truth. This is a Golden Age goodie. This is this is a book you don't see often. There's less than 50 on the CGC census. And this book, I've always wanted in my collection. And I was impulsive because the reason that I say that I was impatient is I didn't wait for the right book to come along. Now you might be saying, Momo, this is the right book. You wanted this book. You just said you wanted it. Well, it wasn't the right book in the fact that it's not the right grade. So since you see these so infrequently, there are less than 50 on the census, once I saw it, I immediately pulled the trigger, even though it was a 1.8. For those of you who've watched my channel quite a bit, you will know that the grade minimum that I would like for my Golden Age keys is to be at least a 4.0, if not better. And not only that, I would like them to have off-white or better pages, where this one has slightly brittle pages. I don't know if you can see that. We'll try to zoom in on that. So this grade and the page quality, again, just complete impatience on my part. I was like, well, if I don't buy it now, I won't see it again. And that's a lot of times what we think as collectors, at least I know I have, is especially with rare books, I won't see it again. But guess what? You do. Even on rare books, you do see them again. And to prove my point, I actually own 3 copies of this book. They're all 1.8. So not only did I make this mistake once, I made it 3 times. And this has hurt me because not only, again, is that money tied up that I could be using to buy other books that I really want, also, I'm trying to sell these books because I want the funds to buy the book in the condition when it does come for sale. And this book is so rare and is in such rough condition that I've been sitting on these books even though I've been trying to sell them for a while. So the opportunity cost there is real. And when I do sell them, I'm most likely going to take a loss because the cost of selling, right? I have to pay eBay fees, I have to pay consignment fees, I have to pay shipping. I paid obviously taxes and shipping when I bought the book. All those fees are going to eat into any potential profits I could even make on this book. Not to mention, since it's been so long on the market, you tend to have to drop prices to actually move the book. So being impulsive, it's cost me time, it's cost me money, and it's cost me potentially other books that I could be buying that I really truly want in my collection in the condition that I want. So make sure, be patient, hang in there. I know it's tough. You think you won't see them again, but I've seen this book 3 times and it's less than 50 on the census. You'll see yours again. Number 2, buying the wrong books. Now, what we just saw with that Sensation Comics 6, even though that was technically the right book, that specific copy was not. It was the wrong book. And why is that? Because it wasn't in condition I wanted. So make sure you're buying the right books. And that can not only mean the right books in the right condition, it all could so just mean buying the books you actually want. Shocker, right? Because I've been struggling with that in my comic book collecting journey. And that's shown in the case of me going out and purchasing Transformers #1. This is the first appearance of Transformers in comics. This is a newsstand edition, and this is a great copy. But I went out and bought this because I thought, you know, I love Transformers as a kid. I really like the IP, the show, the toys. So yeah, right? I should buy this book because I should, right? Because I like Transformers. And at the end of the day, do I really care about this book for my personal collection? At the end of the day, the answer is no. This is not a book that I would regret ever selling. This is not a book that I really care to hold on to. And similar to other books, even though this isn't as expensive, this book cost me like $300. That's money that I could be using better elsewhere. And again, same thing with the flipping the book in such a short period of time, since I bought this, you know, within the last 2 years. The chances of me making money on it are like zero. So, you know, again, opportunity cost and lost funds from buying a book that ultimately I didn't really want. So make sure, I would recommend you set up a priority list. Like, what are books that you for sure, without a doubt, really want, really love, and really focus and prioritize those books. And once you have those books in your hand, then trickle down to books that are maybe less a priority, like a Transformers one. But yeah, learn from my mistakes. Don't go after books that you don't really care about. Buy what you love. Honorable mention, not pulling the trigger. So, some of the biggest mistakes I've made and some of the biggest regrets I have in comic book collecting is actually books I didn't buy, not the books that I did buy. And I know that sounds funny, but it's true. So, for example, with Strange Tales number 180, again, I bought the wrong book and I was impatient. I bought an 8.0. I really wanted a 9.6 or even a 9.4, but really a 9.6. And, you know, I guess I can't even learn from my mistakes. You should. But, yeah, there was an opportunity for me about 6 months ago to pick up a 9.6 Strange Tales 180. And I did not pull the trigger on it because I was an idiot. And I was, well, actually, it was because I was driving at the time, but I should have put in a bid beforehand. And I really regret not pulling the trigger on this book because I'm actually still in search of a 9.6 Strange Tales 180. So if you have a copy, let me know. But no. But just like that Wonder Woman 6 I was talking about earlier that I couldn't buy because I bought that Donald Duck book. Books I didn't pull the trigger on that I wasn't able to buy, those are the books that I most regret not purchasing. So definitely don't make my mistake. So when you find the right book, when you find it in the right grade, when you find it at the right price, I would encourage you, definitely consider pulling the trigger on those books because I've regretted not doing so. Now, before we get to number 1, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more content if you like content like this, and let me know down in the comments what else you want to know about comic book collecting. Appreciate the responses. Now, the number 1 mistake I've made with my comic book collecting is not starting my collection sooner. And that's 100% true because I started buying comics when I was a kid. I love the stories, love to read them, never thought about collecting them. And man, I wish I had. Still want those books even today. And not only do I wish just because I want to read those books, I wish that I'd started sooner because I would have rarer books. For example, this book right here, not right there, right there, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1. This is the first appearance of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Splinter, Shredder. This is a big book. This is in a CGC 9.4 white pages, and this is an amazing copy. However, if you notice closely, this is actually, if I can get it on camera, this is the 3rd printing. So this book, lots of print runs, but the most valuable and most coveted is the first print. And I considered buying this book and starting my comic book collection like over a decade ago. And the reason for that is I just absolutely love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I thought it would be great to have a copy of the first print Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And at the time, the book was way less expensive than it is now. It was like $4 or $5, I think maybe $6,000, over 10 years ago. And now, most recent sales for this book in a first printing in this kind of grade, a 9.4, it's like $25,000. So at this point, it's just not realistic for me to go out and buy a first printing, so I had to settle for a third print, which again, love the book, but had I started sooner, I would have been able to have a first print, not a third. So that's a really big advantage for me of starting sooner and not waiting, is I would have been able to buy rarer and more valuable books, and I would have had more of them, right? Because I would have just had more time to accumulate in my collection. So that's very important to me. But really, even more important than that is that I would have been able to enjoy the hobby so much longer. I would have been able to share my books with my family and friends. I would have been able to meet more people. Like, when you start comic book collecting, you don't realize how many connections you're going to make, whether it be on, Instagram live sales or at Comic-Cons. It's surprising how many Comic-Cons you start going to when you're a comic book collector, right? So, dealers I've met, store owners I've met, just, all the different people along the way, even on this YouTube channel, people that I've met. I could have started this sooner and met so many more people and enjoyed this hobby for so much longer. And the other big thing is that I would have been able to meet people like Stan Lee or, other artists that aren't, or creators that are no longer with us. And that's an opportunity that I'll never get back. So starting my collection sooner would have definitely been a good idea. And that's something that I recommend anyone who's considering collecting is think about the opportunity cost of not collecting, because there are definitely regrets that I have and mistakes I've made for myself and the fact that I didn't start as soon as I should have. And now that you've stuck with me through this whole video, a bonus mistake I've made, trusting CGC, or should I say Sleazy C. For the story, you're going to want to check out this video.